Hello and welcome to a new edition of Interview with Irene. And today my wonderful guest is the brilliant and talented Suzanne Slade. Thank you so much for coming on, Susan.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Irene.
Yeah, and And Susan I'm excited to have you because I know you do a lot of science writing for kids, encouraging them to get into science, which is also a passion for me. So I'm really looking forward to our talk. So, can you start by telling us a little bit about your background?
Well, as you mentioned, science is a big part of my life. And growing up in school, science and math were my favorite subjects. Go STEM girls, right? So in college, I studied mechanical engineering. I went on to work on car brakes and rockets, and then later transitioned to being a children's author after becoming a mom.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So, how did you get into the writing process?
It really began when my children were small and I'd go to the library and get stacks of picture books. I'd always loved picture books when I was young. And as I was reading to them, as many moms think about, I thought, boy, wouldn't that be fun to write children's books?
That's incredible. So, where do you get your inspiration to write?
Well, all of my books are nonfiction except one. And so I write about topics that I'm really interested in or fascinating people in history that I hear about and either that I've never learned about before or I knew of them and I learned something new and exciting. For instance, one of my books, Out of School and Into Nature, is about Anna Comstock. And she has such an incredible story of a woman who wanted to be in science and study science at a time when women were not encouraged to do that. So I loved her story. I have a book about the music in George's head, how George Gershwin wrote Rhapsody in Blue. And many of us have heard about Gershwin, but the story of how he wrote that famous song was so fascinating. I wanted to share it with kids. And then one of my newer titles, A Computer Called Katherine, how Katherine Johnson helped put America on the moon. I learned of Katherine Johnson long before the Hidden Figures, the book or the movie were out. Before that, in 2015, when President Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And so I heard her story, another math lover, science lover. So I wanted to, just when I find something I'm interested in, a person I'm interested in.
This really has me interested. I know they're meant for kids, but I want to read them now. So cool. I hope so too. And we were just talking before about Astronaut Annie. You even have a Facebook page. I can link it in the description. Could you talk a little bit about her?
Oh, sure. Annie, I said I was going to have a nonfiction book, and this is it. And Annie tells the story of a little girl who has a career day coming up at school, but she has to keep it a secret what she wants to be when she grows up, so that when her family comes to the career day, they'll learn that. So of course, curious parents and grandparents ask Annie for a clue. She gives them clues, but they think she wants to be something that has to do with their own interests or dreams. But in the end, Annie shows her dream. And what I'm really excited about this book is it will encourage students, boys and girls, to pursue their dreams. And it shows a girl in STEM. And the exciting news was just 2 weeks ago, an astronaut on the space station, Anne McClain, read Astronaut Annie on the space station. And the recording was put up on a website called Storytime from Space. So anyone can go on there and see astronaut Anne McClain reading this book. So that's really exciting.
Oh, wow. And I sometimes I just put on the NASA channel, and it's interesting too how they bring in kids, ask their questions, and also that's so exciting. They read that book
Yeah.
too. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's a dream come true. So it was very exciting for me.
Wonderful. Um, so how else do you have any future works or any other avenues to encourage boys and girls to get into the sciences?
Well, I think we're at a good time where I'm finding all kinds of programs and opportunities for boys and girls who are interested in science. Like our local library has all kinds of STEM programs going on. And even the other week, I could check out, they had binoculars that you can, telescope binoculars you can check out. So libraries have lots of great programs. You've probably seen maker spaces are popping up in schools and libraries where students who want to build and make things, those are really fun. I just think it's important to, if a child is curious about something, whether it's a nature, something in science or something else, whatever they're naturally curious about, just help them pursue that, whether it's through books or experiment, but just if a child's curious, go with that and give them whatever you can to help them pursue that curiosity.
I love that. That's wonderful advice for any child in whatever they want to pursue. Um, Besides writing, do you have other interests, or what do you do in your spare time?
Well, if the weather is nice, I love to be outside. So it's walking my dog, rollerblading, bicycling. I bicycle a lot to the grocery or wherever I'm going. I just like to be outside and spending time with family as I can. Those would be and maybe a little baking on the side, some little muffins and desserts. I have a sweet tooth, so that's.
You're doing. Um, and finally, any advice for future writers?
Yes, for those who are interested in writing, the biggest piece of advice I ever gotten, it's so true, is write about what you're interested in. Write about what you care about. I mean, and then it's going to be fun. Your writing will be more interesting. So it's always, any book I do, I think about my topic for quite a while before I commit to writing a book about it, because I want to make sure it's something I'm very passionate about so that I can stay with it, and I think it helps make the story better. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is write about what you like, are interested in, are curious about, that you want to know more about.
That's that's great advice, and definitely won't follow it too. And thank you so much for coming on. It was really a pleasure. You're doing wonderful things for kids and for everyone in general, because science is indeed our future now.
I agree, Irene. Thank you for letting me come on and talk about my favorite things, science and books.
Well, they're my favorite too. So, and thank you for joining me for another edition of Interview with Irene. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.